Phrasing matters here. Jeez. Okay. Chauvinism. Christian men going towards chauvinism. So, long night tonight. Meant to do this earlier, but I had a good conversation with an old friend. Also, she says she's done stuff with tarot cards, and hopefully I can talk more about her with stuff like that later. She's an old friend of mine. I seem to be doing better outside of Christian groups than inside Christian groups. I always offend other Christians for whatever reason. Not because I don't listen to them or disregard them, but because, like, the stuff that I've learned, the stuff that I've seen, even though it coincides and parallels and correlates with what is biblical, it's like, it's not exactly in the Bible. I won't listen. And it's just like, are you deaf? Are you blind? I'm pointing out where this at is in Scripture, and you're just blatantly ignoring it. Anyway, if I'm going to be polarizing like some of the other men in some of the men's groups, then I'm going to pick my hills here and stand on them. Coincidentally, when I do pick this one hill, I'm going to go off on that on a different video, of course, but adult entertainment is needed. It's a hill I will stand on. People are going to jump straight to the whole, like, well, it talks about sex and nudity. And I'm like, that's a part of it. I'm going to cover that later. But it's one of those things that separates me from other Christians, the fact that I see some of this stuff as being needed. When you have relationships break down, when you have singles who want to get married, who long and desire and prayed about marriage, never getting married, what options do they have left? At some point, you're going to need to stop self-sacrificing and start taking care of your needs. Because sex is biologically wired into every single human body. Talk about those who are intersex. There's a video that was shown by Blessed Studios a couple months ago that I remember sitting there playing Elden Ring, checking this video out about this intersex person speaking out, and it was amazing. They exist, and they're definitely proof of this. The fact that it grows with us. We have to deal with this whether we like it or not. We just have to deal with it to the best of our ability. Anyway, moving on here, chauvinism. Because that's what I'm talking about here, not about adult entertainment. I'm just saying that's one of the main differences between me and other Christians that I will stand on. Just like with horror movies in that other video that I talked about. Christians need to be in that horror environment to actually show it correctly. Get things back on track, so to speak. Get things in a better mindset. Get others in a better mindset, excuse me. So chauvinism. There are a couple definitions here, and we're ignoring the excessive or blind patriotism according to Merriam-Webster.com. It's the first two. The reason why this matters here is because after some issues that I've had when covering for someone else's shift, my supervisor, there was some very, very short interactions with others at lunch that kind of led me to realize something. It helped connect the dots between, young Christian men and chauvinism. So, point in case, I don't have the best social skills. I am not the best person to tell stories and to speak out to other people. And part of why I'm even doing this is because I was profoundly impacted one time when I was at this BSF, and I did a bit of a testimony and sharing with other men in that particular room. And afterwards, I had men come up and thank me and shake my hands, and it had a very profound impact. And this was probably back in 2019, if I remember accurately. And I never forgot. It is amazing. Combine that with another experience from 2003, where there was roughly, during my time at New Hope Academy, for the boarding school part, There was over 300 men in the room praising God and singing praises and hymns and at the top of their lungs, and it was quite the experience. So combine some of this stuff together, and it has a lasting impact on me, where I'm like, wow. I mean, having a testimony, having a message, having a platform to stand on and speak out is honestly quite the blessing. And it's not always going to come off correctly, but hopefully the message will still be understood regardless. Chauvinism is interesting because it's not ever talked about in the church, to my knowledge. It is not ever talked about outside of the church, with the exception of the individuals who realize certain things and they go down this particular path. There was a video that I couldn't find on YouTube that I remember watching, where this young man, I think it was by Legion of Men. It could have been by another channel, and this guy was being interviewed about being a chauvinist. And he never really kind of put women down. He may have done some eye motions or hand gestures, but he never said anything that was rude or disrespectful. It was basically, women are in the background to him. They're there. But he's not really going to interact with them. He doesn't need to. I think he was rich, but I don't know. He dressed very well, very fine. And, I mean, I'm always in casual clothes when I'm not in a uniform. So for me, dressing up fine, it's going to be a special occasion because I'm always looking professional. That's what it feels like anyway. So, back to the point here, since I keep straying off here. If social skills are going to get so bad in the future due to the breakdown of relationships between men and women, between being able to just simply talk to others. And yes, I've talked to some women who said that they've noticed that there's a breakdown but in the younger women where they can't even talk to other men. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying something that was on my mind for a very long time. So young men and young women are having trouble talking to each other. And the men who are surviving because they're not self-deleting, they're not passing away, they're not checking out, the ones who are there at the end. And here's the problem, the correlation. It seems that the young men who survive, myself included, because I am making it, I refuse to let anything get between me and me enjoying my life and loving myself for who I am and learning more. All right? Learning to put your health first and to do the best that you can for yourself. This obviously is in addition to what others have talked about. I don't really cover this, but I mention this because it's important. The church talks about men having the servant leadership position and how they must put others first, they must sacrifice, they must give, and so on and so forth, excuse me. And while this is definitely biblical and there's definitely a lot there that praises and glorifies God, breaking yourself for God is never really healthy or wanted in the long run. It causes issues, health issues, and there are consequences. But here's something else too. Putting your needs first may be self-centered, but it is not selfish. When you are self-centered, you are taking care of responsibilities and necessities, especially for those that you're responsible for, that you have to deal with, like your kids. You are responsible for your kids, but you can't help them if you can't even help yourself. If you are selfish, like I've seen at the grocery store where mothers tell no to their kids for buying this, and that they go and buy coffee or alcohol. Yeah, you put yourself first and ignore your kids. Ignore your responsibilities, ignore all of that stuff. That just shows that you're a very selfish human being. I want to say, for the young men who are surviving, learning to put your health and your well-being comes first falls in line with chauvinism in the sense of not just treating yourself better and being the best version of yourself, but you kind of have to put women and your dreams, your illusions, your fantasies, you have to put it to the side. You have to just simply Move it or move yourself so that you can focus on your health and well-being and your future. I mean, that falls in line with chauvinism, and it surprised me when I started making connections here. It was a lot of steps. It wasn't just simply realizing what was happening at lunchtime, because there was two incidents that happened, and they were very short-lived. There was like nothing happening there except for me checking, like, oh, you're eating? Okay, cool. And the next time, someone walked in on me, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I walked out. Almost no words exchanged, and yet HR was still contacted, and I didn't find out until afterwards, like a week later. I was just like, are you kidding me? No one said anything to me. Nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, so, like, whatever. I will say this, though. I'm very thankful for my supervisor, because without support, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing this job. I'm in between patrols, so I can actually just sit down here, put my thoughts out on videos, and just like, yo, check this out. Then I'll upload them later. 8 o'clock in the morning, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that. Anyway, because of the interactions, because of the video, I realized chauvinism is not entirely wrong, morally wrong. It's not evil. Obviously, superiority complex, pride, partiality, certain attachments that have a priority of other people, these can become problems or become part of something that is a problem. We develop lifestyles based on what we love and what we go after and what we focus on. And those can be right or wrong. It's really up to what we choose and what we put our hearts on. As far as Bible verses, there may be something that talks about it, but let me see. I'm going to just throw in chauvinism here and see what pops up, because I'm curious. I don't think there's anything that talks about in the Bible dealing with this, but pride in oneself definitely would be. All right, using the Bible app. I'm curious. Oh. Okay, let's go to the right section there. We're sorry there are no Bible reserves for this search. Oh, okay. Shira Rush? What? What is that? Why are you auto-correcting? Why? Okay, pride. Self-pride? Pride in oneself? Okay. Mark 7:21. For it is from within, out of our person's heart, that evil thoughts come: sexual immorality, theft, and murder. Mark 7:22. Let's just go to that whole passage there. This is from Jesus too, by the way. Okay. NIV version. Actually, I don't like the NIV. Let me go over to the Amplified. Starting with 20, Mark 7:20. And he said, whatever comes from the heart of a man, that is what defiles and dishonors him. For from within, that is out of the heart of men, come base and malevolent, can't say the word, malevolent thoughts and schemes, acts of sexual immorality, thefts, murders, adulteries, acts of greed, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, unrestrained conduct, envy and jealousy, slander and profanity, arrogance and self-righteousness and foolishness, aka poor judgment. All of these evil things, schemes, and desires, parentheses, come from within and defile and dishonor the man. Schemes, desires, foolishness, self-righteousness, arrogance, profanity, slander, jealousy, envy, unrestrained conduct, deceit, wickedness, covetous, acts of greed, sexual immorality. Yeah, these don't exactly talk about putting oneself first. Self-righteousness, arrogance would tie into that, sure, but no. Anyway, let's keep looking, because I'm curious. Yeah, Philippians 2:4, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. Pulling from that and talking about putting others before yourself with a servant leadership focus is good, but your health matters. I guess how far you take that is ultimately where you fall in the scale. I mean, fathers have to do that to a point, but they also have to be a strong leader. So, like, there comes a point where they have to say, no, you're listening to me, you're doing things my way, to the kids. I mean, to your spouse, that's a different, you know how to communicate with your spouse. So, like, for you men, you know how to talk to your women. And if you don't, you talk to other people and you get help, you get understanding and ways to improve upon it so that you can talk to them, so that there can be communication between both of you for peace and for an awesome relationship and an outside of bed. Flirting and sex matters. Okay. You disregard and neglect the commandment of God and cling to the tradition of men. I guess in the end, it just comes back to, if your hearts are upon self-improvement and upon doing the best that you can, and ultimately go towards God rather than towards yourself and putting yourself first. The fine line, and I will say this again, the fine line between being the best version of yourself, aka sanctification, your best, and, going to God is basically in the middle there. When you realize you are putting yourself first unnecessarily. When you go to therapy, when you go to counseling, you try to get help. You try to work through your issues. I'm talking about like an excessive self-love where it has basically become a lifestyle. It is you no matter what. At the end of the line, you're just like, it's me. I don't care about anyone or anything else. I came to the conclusion that the men who choose to be ASSHOLES became that way because they were burned to the point where they said, I'm done. I am no longer dealing with this. And they do not care who or what they step on or what they break, what they do. They don't care about any of that because at the end of the day, it's just themselves. I've seen that enough times where I kind of realized and put some things together. And I'm like, okay, God, from a place of hurt, from a place of enough, you stop caring about anything else that goes beyond you, beyond your family. It's interesting all the things that branch off from chauvinism into our lives, or that which goes directly against it. It's a very interesting topic. Anyway, I'm seeing a lot of stuff on pride here, but not a lot on health. Philippians 2:3, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather in humility value others above yourself. I mean, pride is an issue. If you want to continue to work towards improving yourself and being the best version of yourself, that sort of stuff, then you're going to focus on others, you're going to focus on God, and then you take care of your own needs as they come. You're not going to just excessively and only focus on yourself. All right, that's about it. It's a very interesting topic, and other people have talked more about this, focusing on yourself, focusing on God, and counseling and therapy, and all of this, which is needed versus which is wanted or which you have backslidden into. Now, if you're stuck in an addiction or something like that, therapy, then yes, I was hoping to talk to my friend Jenna tonight. She and I have done a couple of talks together, but we've only done one official collaboration on this. So I'm hoping I'll tag her in, and I'm hoping that, we can talk more about this later, because this is a really good topic. Because what I'm seeing here is that the survivors are becoming hardened. They're having to adapt. They have to go above and beyond what has normally been given to them by those in the church to survive, to grow, to mature, to expand, and to work through a lot of the issues and complications that are in front of them so that they can end up in a better place. Not necessarily in a place where they are happy, but in a place where they can be content, where they can settle down, and where they can learn to love themselves and learn to love being alive. Veterans are some of the most hard-hitting people out there who struggle with depression, PTSD, and struggle with learning to love being alive rather than just going through life depressed and struggling to the point where they say, I'm done, I'm checking out. It's very painful, you know? So this stuff matters to a point, but where it all ends at is partly on the people who you listen to and partly on what you choose. And of course, don't get Lyme's disease, because that'll make you be very streamlined. It's going to go in two ways. You're going to fall apart mentally or physically. It happened to my brother. It will happen to others. It happened to others. There's a guy I used to know named Jeremy. Jeremy Greller, an old buddy of mine. Great guy. He opened up about his struggles a couple of years ago, and frankly, it's horrendous. You don't want to struggle with that, because it comes and goes, but it keeps getting worse over time. All right, I've gone way longer than I intended, which was around 10 minutes. So love to hear your thoughts on this, because it's quite the mouthful. There's a lot here. Also, Jenna, she wants to put out more content, and I've been trying to help her out, get her interested in some of the stuff, because therapists are needed. And supporting older women is also needed. I got thoughts about that. And I have to ask, why me? And I think God has a sense of humor in all this. I really do. All right, until next time.